Hello, everybody, and welcome to a bonus episode of Bell to Bell. I'm your host, Nick Belsky, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, one of my best friends in Doug Glattke, to break down the WrestleMania 41 card, because right now we almost have a full card. We don't have a full card, and we'll get to the one match that isn't on there, that will be on there, and all that other fun stuff, but we have most of Saturday and Sunday's card, so we are going to go match by match and give our predictions for every single one of them. But before we get started, as we always like to remind you, if you enjoy this content, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe on YouTube at Nick Belsky, or if you prefer an audio version, you can find us on Spotify by searching Bell to Bell. Doug, welcome to the show. First appearance, likely not your last appearance on Bell to Bell, so excited to get your rookie debut underway here. And I'll lead things off with a simple one. What match this weekend are you most looking forward to, sans the two main events? So no triple threat with Roman, Punk, and Rollins, and no Cena versus Cody Rhodes. What's your favorite outside of those two main events?
I think the thing that I'm most interested in seeing is Gunther and Jey Uso. They're building that very interesting to me. The way they build it, I feel like Jay has so much buzz right now that like they may need to push that button, but at the same time, it's like Gunther's like very legit main event talent. I think that you can make the case either way, but I think that I'm very interested to see how they book that, especially with Jay winning the Rumble, with everybody thinking, oh, Cena was going to win the Rumble. Everybody thought that was a foregone conclusion going into that night, so maybe with the way creative's going, they could just belt Jey Uso.
Yeah, that's certainly a storyline and a feud that started off a little slow because they did have so long. Like you mentioned, Jay, he won the Rumble. You had so much time to develop Jay versus Gunther, and at first it was very slow. They were repeating ideas for a couple weeks here and there. But ever since Jimmy Uso got involved, and we'll talk about this more when we get to that match, but ever since Jimmy Uso got involved, that has quickly shot up the list of the best storylines going into WrestleMania. For me, as far as match, it might not be the best storyline, although I think they've done a really good job with that. I'm looking at that Intercontinental Championship because it is four ballers that are going to be in that ring together. Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. And it's one of the more unpredictable matches on the card. I'm super excited because I love each and every one of those wrestlers, and I would be happy with, honestly, any of them coming away victorious on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's going to be a great match, and like you said, it could go either way. I was thinking about this whenever we were getting ready to go. I was like, could go Penta's way, or it could go another one that I'm really convinced about might be maybe they belt Dom.
Oof.
I think that that's an interesting thing. Like they always have the parallels to Eddie going, and that was a belt that he really held well in his time in WWE. And I wonder if maybe it's time that they push that button, push him hardcore.
All right. Well, we will get to each and every match, starting with WrestleMania Saturday, and we'll go in the order that they presented them on Monday Night Raw a couple nights ago. But first match that they threw out there is this one: Naomi versus Jade Cargill, the blood feud. After Jade was attacked a couple months ago, she returns and goes straight after Naomi. And Naomi, since then, I've really liked this new version. The darker, a little bit less glow, a little bit more show. I've liked a lot of what we've seen from Naomi over the last couple weeks. But Jade has been dominant in WWE. Pretty much every time she's been presented, she's been a dominant woman. And I'm struggling to pick anyone other than Jade Cargill in this one.
I'm with you on this. I'm totally with you. I feel like Jade has been a force to be reckoned with since she came back at the Chamber, had that little spot before the women's Chamber match started. I think that she's going to get her revenge here, and this is going to be a good start for them as a building point to continue to build creative for her now that she's back fully.
Yeah, with her, it's a little weird because she's, in essence, a face, which we can get inside baseball here. She's in essence a good guy, but really hasn't acted like it. I mean, yeah, vengeance and the entire, eye for an eye situation, you can make the determination there. But it feels like both of these wrestlers post Mania are going to be ones that kind of have a mean streak to them. Like I said, I've really liked the new look. I love the new finisher for Naomi as well, but it's Jade's first Mania singles match. I don't think, after making her as strong as they have since she joined WWE, I don't think in her first singles match they're going to have her do anything other than get her hand raised. So we're both kind of thinking Jade Cargill on this one, if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move over to the World Tag Team Championships. War Raiders against the New Day. I'm not going to lie, and I talked about this on the full episode this week. Felt like the SmackDown tag titles deserve this spot. There's still time. They might wind up finding a spot on either Saturday or Sunday. But as of right now, the only tag titles in the men's divisions that are going to be defended are the World Tag Team Championships. Do you have a read on this one? War Raiders versus the New Day.
I think this is one of those ones, it could go either way. I feel like I've seen this. I've had this vibe. Triple H likes booking the War Raiders the way that he does. Like, I feel like he pushes the War Raiders hardcore, especially since they repackaged them again. But I feel like the New Day, they're due in a way. Like they've had all these Mania moments. They've had all this stuff go on with Big E, no longer, or being shelved for so long, and potentially not being able to wrestle again. But I feel like with this heel flip, man, I feel like they're going to end up belting New Day this weekend.
Yeah, where do you go
I think
from here
that
if you
could be.
don't?
Yeah, like, what was the point of it if you don't do it, right? That's how I feel with it.
Yeah, I agree because, they did the flip. They brought out this new mean streak and they went up against the LWO. Like, are they going to go back to going up against Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde? I don't think so. I don't think that's a good follow-up here for the New Day. So it feels like they have to, but I agree with you. The War Raiders, anytime they're in the ring, it's a stellar match. Their work in the ring is phenomenal. The problem is, outside of that, they're just two guys that are just going to fight anybody. Like, this is the first time that it feels like somebody's actually gotten under their skin and there's been a little bit of story added to it. We all know WWE loves their storytelling, but it just feels like while they're great in the ring and they're good as fighting champions, it feels like this is the time that you need to put New Day over the top and make sure that they have those belts going post-Mania to help the Raw tag team division, because the SmackDown division has kind of grown through some unlikely sources. Pretty Deadly stepping up, Los Garza stepping up in a huge way. It feels like the Raw division needs this turn, needs this title change to help kind of establish itself in the same way that we've seen on SmackDown.
I agree. And I think not only to establish the Raw tag division, I think Kofi and Woods both need this win.
Yeah. It's been how long?
It's been how long? And honestly, like, you know this if you've been watching wrestling for a while. Some of Woods' best work in his entire pro wrestling career was in TNA, in a tag team with Jay Lethal, as a heel tag team. I think that, you need to play him to his strengths finally and put him in that type of role and let him actually become the wrestler that they signed all those years ago.
Yeah.
He's done great character work, but I feel like you need to let him go off the chain a little bit with Kofi.
Yeah, and even when they were the full iteration of the New Day, they were always a little bit of heels. Like, some of the tactics, you're like, okay, that is not what a face, that's not what a good guy would do. But, at the same time,
yes, exactly.
Like you mentioned, it's in the wheelhouse, and the way that these guys, even though it's not their fault, but the way like that they haven't had the momentum, but the way that they've carried themselves, everything they've done and the small opportunities they've been given, it feels natural. Yes. I mean, maybe not as much for Kofi because it's weird because he's been a good guy for over a decade, but for Woods, it does fit a lot. So I think we're both on the same page with that one. Let's go to this grudge match, apparently. story rivalry, Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano, Cappuccino, whatever you want to call it. It feels like a Starbucks order, but instead it is Chad Gable's first chance. I mean, my prediction is it's Chad Gable. We don't know for certain, and we don't know who's going to win this one because I have no idea what the plan is for this matchup.
I think it's going to be Rey because, in my opinion, they need to keep this El Grande Americano thing going because it is a missed opportunity if you do not have Sammy come back out from being off for a little bit on some random Monday Night Raw and have him come out as El Generico. I think that's a perfect random future feud for him to go into as downtime with Kevin getting neck surgery.
Yeah, that would be something. And, you know, part of the reason why I said I'm not sure what the plan is here, because I don't know what's next for El Grande Americano. You could build on that character, or this could simply be, and we've seen it in the past. Shoot, we saw it last season, or last WrestleMania season, adding a match to get Rey on the card. Because last year they did it. Yeah, could Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar used a win last year? Yeah, but instead, who gets it? It's Rey Mysterio and the feel-good match with the Hall of Famer. So it could be that. It could be the establishing of El Grande Americano. I think the latter, or the former, is going to happen. I think it's going to be Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, that makes sense. And with the whole El Grande Americano thing, it's like, it's one of those gimmicks where it's like, how much longer can you run with it?
Yes.
Like, how much more shelf life does it have?
Yeah, I don't think it's, I mean, that and Chad Gable himself is enough if given the opportunity. He just hasn't been given the opportunity. I've liked the
He's
work
one
that
of
he
your
did.
best in-ring workers.
Yeah, and I've liked what he's done since moving over to American Made as well, like being that leader for a ruthless heel faction. I think there's more to that, and I think that, I don't know if they're putting it off to do this El Grande Americano stuff, but this has been good. I wouldn't say it's been great, but I do feel like the sneaking suspicion is this is a Rey Mysterio, hey, let's get the fans to cheer a little bit type of match. I don't know if they unmask him. That's a different story for a different day, but it feels to me like Rey Mysterio is going to end up the victor in this one. Let's go to a United States title match between LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. Something tells me that the patrons at Allegiant Stadium are not going to know who to root for in this one. Do you have a pick between Knight and Fatu?
I think LA Knight's going to get it. I think he's going to retain. I understand the concept behind putting a belt on Jacob Fatu. I mean, he's one of the best wrestlers on the Smackdown brand. He's been great ever since he's come over. But I think that LA Knight needs to keep the belt for the bigger picture moving forward in terms of creative, because I have a weird suspicion that in the coming months, this whole John Cena Rock thing might become a stable. And that could, and I think that LA Knight could fit into that potentially.
See, I've thought of a couple names for that because I've had the same suspicion, and I've thought of a couple names that would fit in with that. Drew McIntyre is one of them. I threw out yesterday Roman Reigns, now the Lone Wolf. Maybe it's a Reigns-Cena pairing underneath The Rock. That would be interesting. But the one that I haven't thought of is LA Knight. Now, with his United States title reign, the first one got off to a little bit of a slow start, but just as it picked up momentum, we had that weird back and forth where Shinsuke won it after coming back with a new look. And then they completely regretted their decision and went back with LA Knight. And I think his work since has just picked up where it left off when in the first reign, where he started to gain that momentum. I don't think that I'm ready to see that end. And I also don't think it's going to be a straight up fight between these two. If it's straight up, there's not a chance Jacob Fatu loses, because he is not going to lose straight up clean anytime in the near future. But something tells me it's not going to be a straight up one-on-one, no outside interference type of match. And if that's the case, I think LA Knight retains. And I think there's something else for Jacob Fatu going into the future.
Most definitely. I like what you said there. I think that that's probably how it's going to go. And like, if LA Knight's going to win, there's going to have to be, like you said, some sort of outside interference. And I think there might be some seed planning that goes on with that match, with this match.
We all expect a Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu match at some point. Do we start to get that here? Do we get Braun Strowman coming in and costing
Right.
Jacob Fatu? There could be so many different angles to this. I wouldn't go as far as to say Bronson Reed because that leg injury was gruesome. So I don't think that he's anywhere
Yes.
close to coming back. But I mean, along those lines, if somebody's actually healthy, that kind of fits the bill. But no, it's going to be a fun match. And again, the fans at Allegiant Stadium are going to go berserk for this because this is a straight favorite on favorite type of matchup. Speaking of favorites, Tiffany Stratton has become a fan favorite of late. She's going to take on Charlotte Flair in the WWE Women's Championship match. This one has gotten very personal. I would say it borders on unprofessional if it was any other profession, but it's professional wrestling. So that is earmarked perfect for what we have in this sport. And honestly, if bygones can be bygones and they can work together, this could be an all-time match. If it's stiff and they actually dislike each other that much, it could affect the in-ring work here, but something tells me that they're going to be able to put their personal stuff to the side, and we're going to see an absolute banger between these two on Saturday evening.
Yeah, I agree. And this is one of those ones for me that's a major toss up, you know, because like ever since Tiffany Stratton's won Money in the Bank, she has been like their go to like money maker in the women's division. Like she's been that big up and comer since she's gone main roster. And I mean, Charlotte Flair coming back from that injury, winning the Rumble, you know, you could definitely see it a world where she goes over and wins. But I think honestly, I think for the sake of business, I think that they'll keep the belt on Tiffany Stratton for the time being and let this become maybe a somewhat of a prolonged thing.
I mean, this could 1000% carry as a trilogy. Now, there's going to have to be some
Yes.
twists and turns because as of right now, it's getting a little bit too much like, okay, WWE might want to just get this feud over with so they can move on to something that's a little bit easier to control. But no,
Yeah.
to me, when I look at this, the face turn of Tiffany Stratton was natural. WWE didn't
Absolutely.
force it. Yes, she cashed in on Nia Jax, but it was a natural turn to where even when she was with Nia and aligned with Nia, holding the Money in the Bank, everybody wanted her to turn on Nia. Now,
Right.
this is, to me, the opportunity to complete that face turn. And by doing
Yes.
so, to do so, you have to have Charlotte Flair going over. Again, I agree with you. I think this one is a toss up, but just gut feeling, it feels like if Charlotte came back and won the Rumble and has been talking as if she's this dominant force, let her be this dominant force. Tiffany has her entire career ahead of her. She's 25 years old. And like she said a couple weeks ago, at 25, she's holding a title going into WrestleMania. At 25, Charlotte Flair was still trying to become a volleyball player. So there's still a lot of time for Tiffany to have a very long, successful career. I think this is a moment and an opportunity where you can give Charlotte Flair that moment. I don't know if it's the last moment. I don't know how much longer she has left. She's coming off that gruesome injury, and you never know when that happens, how long somebody's career can go following that. But it feels to me that Charlotte's going to end up being the one that walks away victorious.
No, that makes a lot of sense. You know, and I feel like you could definitely launch a trilogy off of that
Mhm.
type of launch pad, you know, because like I feel like with Tiffany Stratton, they need to keep pushing her. And if to get the full babyface effect, we need a little bit of like underdog type mentality run
Mhm.
from her. You know, I think that that's what they need because honestly, I feel like the women's division as a whole needs like a undeniable babyface for like that's that universally loved. Almost
Yeah.
kind of like what happened with Cody, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's what they need. And I feel like if they do it that way, that could be a huge, huge swing for Tiffany Stratton and the entire women's division in WWE.
If there's any woman that could potentially be that Cody Rhodes figure for the women's division, it feels like it could be Tiffany Stratton. I don't know a
Absolutely.
singular human being that does not like Tiffany Stratton, to be completely honest. So I like your thought process on that one. And this is going to be one of the matches that everybody has a differing opinion on. So I'm excited to see how it plays out this Saturday. Speaking of Saturday and differing opinions, Gunther versus Jey Uso. The match that you said you're most excited to watch outside of the main events. This one is for the World Heavyweight Championship, and all signs, I would think, are pointing towards Jey Uso. Except, man, you mentioned Triple H loves booking the War Raiders. You know who he loves booking even more than that? He
Yep.
loves himself some Gunther. Gunther had a 666-day Intercontinental title reign. When he lost it at Mania last year, the plan was immediately he's going to mow through the King of the Ring tournament and become a world champion. Is that going to end because of Jey Uso? Possibly, but something in the way that he spoke on Monday Night Raw this past week, the go-home show to WrestleMania, my heart says it's going to be Gunther. It just does. And I don't know what you do with Jey Uso from here. I think it kills his momentum a little bit, but at the same time, he's undeniable as a babyface right now. He is beloved in every arena that he goes to. I think even with this loss, he can recover versus having Gunther loss. I'm not sure where you go from there. And honestly, I think I'm more interested in Gunther continuing this reign and picking up steam coming out of WrestleMania than seeing Jey Uso try to establish himself as the leader of the Red brand.
Yeah, I mean, you actually just swung me with what you said. Because like I feel like if Gunther is going to lose at any point, it has to be somebody that is like a monster. Like it has to be somebody that is like so built up that like it's going to look like a Rocky Balboa versus Ivan Drago type of fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and I love Jey Uso. I love what he has going on, like with the fans and how over he is. But like, I don't think that's the move. I don't think that he's that guy. You know, there are definitely people who can be that guy on the main roster of Monday Night Raw right now. But right now, in my opinion, that's just not Jey Uso.
Last year, Sami Zayn, and this was for the Intercontinental title, Sami Zayn was the right guy at the right time. I think Jey Uso might be the right guy, but it doesn't feel like it's the right time. It feels too early
Exactly.
in Gunther's World Heavyweight title reign for it to be the right time for Jey Uso to be the type of player or the type of guy that supplants him as World Heavyweight champion. But either way, I think that a lot of credit needs to go to these two because a lot of people were down on them on the internet. And I think they've swayed a lot of people because the last couple of weeks, this program has heated up in a very, very serious way. And it's been very entertaining to watch. And as I've been saying this entire time, no matter how the build goes, when the bell rings, Gunther is one of one. And you know he's going to come to play. He's going to come to perform. He's going to come to entertain. And that match is going to go off so seamlessly and so well between him and Jey Uso. To close out the Saturday slate, we have the triple threat. Probably the most exciting triple threat that we have seen. I mean, I love Gunther versus McIntyre versus Sheamus from 39, but let's be honest. The names, the blockbuster, the marquee, this is it. This is the triple threat. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. We say on a couple of these that, it could go either way. This one, probably in the history of WrestleMania, the most unpredictable main event that we have ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even know like where to go with this. It's almost like I don't even want to go with an end result. I just want to go with like things that will happen within the match.
Yeah, honestly.
Like predicting Shield callbacks.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But I mean, and knowing that this getting Punk in this match or having Paul Heyman in his corner isn't technically the favor, it makes me wonder like what is the favor? You know, like does he have to win this to set it up? Like I don't know. Part of me I'm riding with CM Punk, dude. Like I'm a delusional CM Punk guy. I have been for years. But I don't know. I could see Seth coming out on top on all of this just out of the sheer like deep-seated hatred for both
Mm.
individuals.
See, the only thing, and it's weird to say, but the only thing that I think I'm confident in is predicting that Roman Reigns doesn't win. And I
I
can't
agree.
believe I'm saying that. I can't believe I'm
I
saying that because CM Punk is trying to play mastermind. Seth Rollins
Yeah,
is trying to play architect, and Roman Reigns is just getting his feelings hurt. And that's
yeah,
not a position against these other two of strength. And I think coming out of Mania, if Reigns doesn't play this well, it might be. We thought last year was rock bottom. Yeah, he came back and he got his Ulufala back, but that might be rock bottom because not only will he have lost, but he doesn't have Paul Heyman. He doesn't have, his family right now because Jimmy is God knows where rehabbing what happened to him. And Jay is dealing with his own stuff. And even when Jay was in that War Games match, there was tension. They were separate. Yeah, they got the win, but who came out last? Jey Uso. Who
right,
went over? Jey Uso. And who
right.
immediately separated from everything after the fact? Jey Uso. He's not with Roman Reigns.
No,
They let bygones be bygones, but this would certainly be Roman Reigns' first time being all alone in years. So I think that's the only thing I'm confident in. As far as a winner, it's hard to predict Rollins, especially because he has gotten the better of everyone for the past 3 weeks, it seems. I said a
right.
couple weeks ago that CM Punk was the easy favorite, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
ride that again. So I'm gonna be with you. CM Punk closing out night one of WrestleMania as the victor in a massive triple threat that is for, as Seth Rollins dubbed it, the soul of WWE. Let's move over to Sunday really quickly, and a match that isn't on the card, but we expect fully to be on the card is Randy Orton versus one of Nick Aldis, and yes, I'm still leaving the door open for Nick Aldis, or Solo Sikoa. I don't know who he's going to face. I'll tell you one thing. He's not losing. Randy Orton is going to
no,
win against whoever he ends up facing in WrestleMania.
yeah, I agree. I think the other thing with Randy, and this is one thing I like to look for, is who's like the feature like superstar on like the poster for the next pay-per-view.
Mm.
Right? Randy has Backlash. So like Randy, I think Randy will 100% win, but I also think I'm not putting it past anybody for Randy to not be involved at some point later in the night.
That certainly would be interesting. Now, I'm maybe not later than night, but I could see maybe not Raw after Mania because he's a SmackDown superstar, but SmackDown after Mania, I could see
Yeah,
something big happening with Randy Orton because I
definitely.
think that was going
Definitely.
to be the impetus no matter what. Or not the impetus. That was going
Yes.
to be the plan no matter what. I thought Kevin Owens would
100%.
have gone over if it was Owens versus Orton, and it would have caused Orton to do something. Now there might have the same thing, except Orton just continues to go off the hinges a little bit as we've seen the last couple of weeks, and he gets that win on Sunday. I would assume it's on Sunday because Saturday has 7 matches right now. Sunday has 6. Speaking
Right.
of Sunday and the matches that we have, women's tag team championships: Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Could we get Lyra 2 belts on Sunday?
I think we could. I really I really like Lyra and Bailey as a group. I think that that would be a good um transitional tag team champion for the time being. But also like I'm never denying anything of Lyra Valkyria because of how good she looked in the chamber and how good she looked in the or no, how good she looked in the Rumble.
Mhm.
She put on a show in the Rumble, dude. Like in the very beginning, I feel like I feel like she's going to be a women's superstar that they push to the moon
Yeah.
in due time. Very similar to Tiffany Stratton,
Yeah.
what they
I've
did with her.
I've really enjoyed her Intercontinental title run, the way that she's just kind of gone through competitors the last couple of weeks, taking all comers, and really the matches that she's been putting on. She has elevated that title in a massive way. And it stinks that that title's not getting showcased on WrestleMania. And I don't think she's going to go over, but I think part of that is going to set up at Backlash once again a rematch between her and Bayley because that doesn't seem like it's all sunshine and rainbows. It seems like there's a little
Right.
bit of dissension there, and it feels like they're united for a common cause because they both wanted to be at WrestleMania and they both like gold. but it feels like a loss here could lead to a rematch, a backlash of that matchup that we got a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Raw. So I don't think we're going to see Lyra 2 belts. I think we're going to see Liv Morgan given the, what's the word I'm looking for here? Being rewarded for the work that she did with the WrestleMania moment where she goes over with her friend Raquel.
Yeah, that's fair. And the big thing with the whole Lyra Bailey angle is like, if they are going to push Lyra the way that I'm forecasting them to push her, they need like a rivalry where at some point she drops the Intercontinental belt so she can go main event scene.
Yeah, I don't know if we're quite there yet. And Bailey would certainly be a great matchup for that. I'd like to see Roxanne Perez come up to the main roster and be that type of person as well.
Yes,
kind of establish herself in the mid card. But I think either way, this is pointing towards Liv and Raquel keeping the belts in the Judgment Day, looking strong at this point of the night. Now, speaking of Judgment Day, a former Judgment Day member will be in action in the only matchup, if I'm not mistaken, to actually have a stipulation at this year's WrestleMania. Sin City Street Fight, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, I mean, he's close to rock bottom at this point, right? He did not, as he said in storyline, he did not want this match. He wanted to go after a world title. He wanted to avenge what happened to him at WrestleMania 40, and instead, it just so happens to be the guy that's been the thorn in his side for the past 365 days, starting at WrestleMania 40. I think he gets revenge on Damian Priest for everything that Priest has done. And I think Drew McIntyre walks away with the win. And it might not be the smartest pick, but honestly, I'm picking with my heart here because I love Drew McIntyre and I'm tired of seeing him lose.
No, I'm totally with you on that. And the big thing is like, you have to think of it from a booking perspective. If you have him lose again, you're running out of ideas for him to do beyond that. And it makes the character potentially go stale. He needs this win. Like he does. He needs this win to reestablish himself and get himself back into motion of getting himself back to where he wants to be on the card.
I like it. We're both aligned on this one. And honestly, I hope we're both right on this one. Nothing against Damian Priest, but at the same time, it feels like McIntyre is billed for bigger and better things. But maybe if he loses, I don't know. Maybe that's what points him towards The Rock. He says, I have nothing else to do. Might as well sell my soul. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see with this one. I think that this is going to be a lot of fun. I know people aren't happy about it, but at the same time, it's a Sin City street fight, and it's a street fight between two behemoths. It seems to be Damian Priest's specialty, right? His biggest matches of his career to this point, outside of the Money in the Bank cash-in last year, which was a minute and a half long. Street fight against Bad Bunny. Street fight against Finn Balor on the second episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Putting him back in his element, I think this will be very entertaining. Now let's get to that Intercontinental Championship match that I mentioned earlier. It is Braun Breaker, the reigning defending Intercontinental Champion, against Finn Balor, against Penta, against Dominic Mysterio. I am so excited for this match because no matter what happens, no matter what the result is, we are going to get a time where Braun Breaker just starts mowing down everybody in the match, and probably Carlito catching a ricochet at some point because that's just what's happening to him. But I really have no idea which direction this could go. I think they could continue to establish Braun Breaker as a dominant champion. I think they could continue the rocket ship that has been strapped to the back of Penta. I think they could, as you kind of hinted towards, go with the complete unknown, which is Dom Mysterio. The only thing I think they won't do is give it to Finn Balor. He's my favorite of the four, but as a Finn Balor stan, we know Finn Balor doesn't win at the end of the day because he just never does. He's gotten the upper hand every single week over the last couple of weeks, which means it's not going to be him, leading me to think it's one of the other three. Do you have a pick out of this one?
So I feel the same way about this match, the same way that I felt about the triple threat of night one. Mm-hmm. The only thing I can really predict at this point is, in my opinion, I think Braun's going to lose.
Braun? Okay.
I think Braun's going to lose because I feel like they need to get the mid-card belt off of him so he can go more main event.
I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
following WrestleMania, you're going to have Roman Reigns, who's gone. That clears out a spot in the main event. You're going to have
Right.
John Cena likely not there every week, so that clears out another spot in the main event. You're going to need somebody to backfill that. And Braun Breaker is one of the few stars right now that are uniquely qualified to jump into that scene and be able to swim with the Sharks at that level. So that makes a lot of sense. But I think I'm still gonna pick Braun Breaker. It feels like he's not done in that mid card. It feels like there's another couple of feuds that they could do so he can kind of build up the rest of the mid card before he departs, so the rest of them can then vie over the Intercontinental belt whenever he does eventually ascend to where we all expect him to ascend to.
That's fair. My pick though for this, as much as I want to say Dom, if anybody was going to win this match, I think the most sensible pick and the most safe pick is probably Penta.
Mm-hmm.
They need, like, it would make sense for them to belt him. If they were to push that button, I don't think there would be anybody that would bat an eye at it. He's been a superstar since he's come in. And I don't think I've seen somebody come over from another company and be like as uberly successful and as uberly over as he has been, like in the type of card spot that he's in, because obviously Cody was a very, very unique situation.
Yes.
Since Rey Mysterio came to WWE. Like it's so eerily similar to me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the other names, like Finn Balor came in, had to go to NXT. AJ Styles came in, and yes, he had, I think he was probably the only other one that you could look at that says as soon as he comes in, he has that pedigree that he went straight to the main roster and he immediately succeeded. But Penta is up there. I mean, he's top 10, top 5 in people who have come in without a prior resume in WWE and immediately got over. So I wouldn't mind seeing him walk away out of Las Vegas with that belt. I think that everything they've done with him has been a hit so far, and that would continue to just make it hit even more if Penta walked away from Vegas with a little bit of gold. Let's go to this matchup that, I'm trying to get into. I really am. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. To me, it barely feels like a Mania match. For one, Logan Paul has barely been there to help build it. And for two, it feels like it's the most predictable match on the card, and it feels like it's Logan Paul no matter what.
Yeah, which honestly, in my opinion, is a disservice to AJ Styles.
Yeah. I think Karrion Kross has done more for this WrestleMania match than Logan Paul has.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's just like, this is one of those matches like you would just see as like a throwaway main event on like a random Smackdown in the middle of like July.
Yeah.
This doesn't have the WrestleMania feel to it. That said, obviously Logan Paul's probably going to win. Should he? No. But again, this raises the point to me of like, what is the plan with AJ Styles? Like, the clock is ticking there. Like, just like the clock is ticking with Cena and Randy and a few of the other superstars that we all have grown up with that are at the back part of their careers. The clock is very much ticking on AJ Styles. And I feel like it needs to be their mission to book him better after this, because this is not what I want to see at all. This is not it.
And even if he takes down Logan Paul, what does that do for AJ Styles' character? Nothing.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it makes Karrion Kross happy, which makes me happy. So I guess there is a win there, but I don't see it happening. I don't think there's any way that Logan Paul doesn't win this match, especially because his new finisher is practically made to do to AJ Styles. Like, it is essentially made to do to AJ Styles. So I don't see a way that he doesn't hit it and doesn't end up coming away victorious. We got 2 more matches. First, Io Sky versus Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. This one has been a lot of fun to watch build. I know that a lot of people were kind of confused as to why they were shoehorning Rhea Ripley in here. And I think the reason is because, one, she's one of the biggest stars in the company. She is, whether you like it or not, whether you like the way she's booked or not. She's one of the biggest stars and one of the best wrestlers in the company, no matter what. With that being said, she is in this match for the express purpose to be pinned in this match. I think that Bianca Belair ends up pinning Rhea Ripley because Bianca is undefeated at WrestleMania. I don't see it ending on a technicality that she just isn't involved in the decision. And I don't think they want to see Io Sky fall as far as being pinned. But I think this is the time to put Bianca back in the world title scene as the champion. And I think the reason that Rhea's there is to take the pin from Bianca.
No, I'm 100% with you on this. I thought the same thing whenever they inserted Rhea on a whim there. Because like the big thing is like it makes no sense for them to damage Io in any way. Like, she is a star in her own right. The fans love her. They need to not let her lose any momentum. So if they're gonna put the belt on Bianca, like we all expect, I agree with you. Expect Rhea Ripley to eat that pin.
We got one match left, and it's the match. As they touted it on Monday, for all the marbles, Cody Rhodes, John Cena, undisputed WWE Championship. Who do you got and how?
This is such a coin flip for me. Like, I can see it going either way, but I think the only way they can move forward with this whole heel John Cena thing is if he takes down Cody. Like, as much as I would hate to see it, like, I'm a big Cody Rhodes guy. Like, how I got back into wrestling was I watched a bunch of Cody Rhodes New Japan stuff in COVID. And watched a lot of New Japan stuff, watched a lot of his stuff in AEW, and Cody got me back into wrestling. But I feel like you need to go push the John Cena button so he becomes the biggest heel in the company and becomes universally hated if he's going to do this heel turn the way that he wants to do it.
I could see John Cena taking that belt part-time for the next couple of months and that creating the utmost amount of heat. The only issue I see with that is, what do we do with Cody Rhodes? Because we already did the whole champ without the belt thing in the summer of Brock Lesnar with Cody Rhodes. Do we try to do that again? And is it with Randy Orton? Is it with a whole host of henchmen that he has to work his way through to get back to John Cena and get back to that WWE championship? I'm not sure what the plan is. Now, there are options, like I just stated a couple. I'm sure there's thousands more that people have thought of. But to me, this is the first match since John Cena turned at the Chamber. And I don't think it's going to be that easy for John Cena to get 17. He said on January 6th, first episode of Raw on Netflix, I don't think it's going to happen. So all he had to do was turn heel and it happened? Something tells me that there's a little bit more to that story. Yeah, you could go for a lengthy reign where he brings it every once in a while and goes away for the majority of the time outside of that. I think for him to get 17, it's going to take a little bit more than this. I think a win here cements Cody Rhodes as the top guy in the company. And I think Cena, if I want to put on my fantasy booking hat for the way down the line machine, I think Cena has to work his way back. Probably not as hard because he's a heel. But I think it ends up being the fact that that change of personality just doesn't work. It doesn't get him what he wants. And eventually, he comes all the way back to get number 17 against the guy we all wanted him to get number 17 against in the first place. And that's Gunther. Because the one person that can lose to John Cena this year and probably gain momentum is Gunther. And that's why I think that eventually that will happen. But in order for that to happen, Cody Rhodes has to win WrestleMania. And that's my entire mega-minded, probably too deep, probably thinking too much about it, thought on the main event of WrestleMania 41 is Cody Rhodes wins and John Cena has to work a little harder to get to number 17.
No, I actually like what you cooked up there, because like, if you think about it from a long-term storytelling perspective,
Mhm.
The main event of SummerSlam being Cena and Gunther makes a lot of sense.
The only thing I don't like about it, if Cena wins it at SummerSlam, is you now only have about 4 months to run his 17th title reign, and you're essentially doing the same thing or running into the same issues that AEW ran into last year with Bryan Danielson. That, hey, this is going to end.
True.
It's not going to be a lengthy run. This has to end. There's an end date. It has to end at some point this year. So you're almost kind of telegraphing who takes the belt off of Cena. And now there's ways that you can get around that. But that's the one thing that makes me a little bit cautious about waiting that long to get Cena to 17. But if he's coming all the way around and becoming a good guy once again by that time, you might need that amount of time to tell the story leading up to him changing his ways and going after Gunther.
Yeah. Like, I think that if they're going to do it the way that you said, it's going to have to be like a 2 or 3 month process, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, but again, if Cena keeps running around being the mega heel that he claims to be, maybe the end date isn't the end date.
Yeah. I mean, maybe all these shortcuts he takes just ends up not working. Hey, he took a shortcut and won Money in the Bank. Guess what? It didn't work out. He still lost. And maybe he's like, man, maybe I need to do it the way that I did it for the first 16. Again, maybe it capital F for fantasy booking, but maybe it's not. So you have John Cena, which I love the fact that we have different main event picks. You have John Cena there. I got Cody Rhodes. Either way, I'm very excited for WrestleMania 41. I think that a lot of people are complaining about the card, but now that you're looking at it in totality, I think there's a chance that this becomes a very, very entertaining couple of days where maybe it's not as good as WrestleMania 39 because WrestleMania 39 was great. Maybe the main events don't live up to the cinema that we saw at WrestleMania 40, but I think it's a solid card that has a lot of potential to become one of the more memorable in recent memory and certainly better than what we saw throughout many of the 30s when it comes to the WrestleManias. But at the end of the day, 13 matches now, likely to become 14. Doug, thank you so much for going down through each and every single one of them for me. Let the people know where they can find you and really just how excited you are for Saturday and Sunday in Vegas.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to this weekend. I mean, don't get me wrong. WrestleMania Sunday might get a little tricky for me in my life because of it being Easter.
Yeah. True. And
family being involved, but hey, it is what it is. No, I'm so excited. You know, you can find me on Twitter at Doug_Glattke. Try to get more active on there in the coming months and, see how things keep developing.
That's what we like to hear. Well, thank you one last time, Doug. Appreciate you coming on and sharing your opinions on WrestleMania 41. Remember, if you enjoy this content, to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube at Nick Belsky, or you can find us on Spotify at Bell to Bell. But that's it for this one. Enjoy WrestleMania 41, guys.